I was lying in intensive care. A stroke had almost taken my life. When my son called, "Tomorrow is your daughter-in-law's birthday. Come and help with the cooking." I whispered, "I can't. I'm not feeling well." He yelled, "Then don't you dare come home." I hung up and blocked his number. A week later I left the hospital. I returned home and turned their lives upside down. Hurting your family brings pain they never expect. Before we continue, please like this channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The white lights above me were too bright. I looked at the white ceiling in the hospital room, counting the small dots, anything to stop thinking about the tubes in my arms and the sound of the machine next to me. 4 days had gone by since my world went dark on that sidewalk. My phone rang on the small table beside me. Marcus's name showed on the screen. His voice was hard, annoyed. Not the voice you want when calling your mother in the hospital. "Tomorrow's Lisa's birthday party. We need you to come help with the food." I moved a little on the hard hospital bed, feeling pain in my head. "Sweetie, I can't. I'm still at Memorial. The doctors say." "What do you mean you can't?" His voice got louder. "We've got 50 people coming. The cake needs decorating. The caterers are asking about the menu. And Lisa's parents expect everything to be perfect." Through the phone I heard Lisa in the background. "Tell her we need the special plates from the cupboard." My hand shook a little as I held the phone tighter. The machine next to me started beeping faster. "Marcus, I had a stroke. I'm in the hospital room. They're doing more tests tomorrow morning." Silence. "Then you're always too busy when we need you." "Always." The words hurt more than the pain in my head. I thought about last month, how I'd spent $900 on that fancy camera she said Lisa needed for her blog about food. The blog that stopped after 2 weeks. "I'm not too busy," I said quietly. "I'm lying in a hospital bed with tubes in my arms." "Fine." Her voice turned cold like ice. "Then don't bother coming home at all. We don't need someone who can't be there when family needs them." The phone went quiet. I looked at my phone at the photo of Marcus that still showed him at 14, smiling big, holding his first soccer trophy. That boy wouldn't have hung up on me. That boy had hugged me tight when I dropped him at college, made me promise to visit every month. My finger stopped over her contact. Then I pressed block. The nurse came in for evening check. A nice woman named Rosa, who reminded me of my old friend from church. She checked my health, fixed my medicine tube. "Everything okay, Mrs. Chen? Your heartbeat went up a few minutes ago." "Just family problems," I said, trying to smile. "Nothing too bad." She touched my shoulder gently. "Family can be hard sometimes. You focus on getting better." After she left, I lay in the dark, listening to the sounds of the hospital. Footsteps far away, quiet talking, the sound of air moving. My mind went back, trying to find when everything changed. 4 years ago, Marcus and Lisa had come to my house on Maple Street with 22 boxes and sorry mail. "Just until we get our money right, Mom. 8 months at most." I'd helped them bring in their things, moved my sewing room to make space for Lisa's yoga stuff. I'd been happy to have company. Really, the house felt too empty after retiring. 8 months became a year, then 2, then 3, then 4. I'd paid off her store car debt, $18,000 she'd used on what she called important buys. I'd bought Lisa that camera, the professional cooking tools for her food blog, the new laptop for his business idea. Each idea lasted weeks before he said it wasn't what he wanted. Last summer, I'd spent 3 months fixing the kitchen because Lisa said the counters were old. Cost me $10,000. She'd picked everything. The new sink, the warm floors, the fancy tiles. When I finished, she'd barely looked up from her phone. "Thanks, Mom," Lisa says. "We still need to change the cabinets though." The lights above went dim for the night. "Workers." I reached for the button, moving my bed to feel better. My head hurt, but it was far away compared to the empty, sad feelings in my chest. 40 years I'd worked at Seattle's library system. Started as a helper, worked my way up to head librarian. I'd helped start 12 reading programs in poor areas. I changed the book system to help kids by 50%. For library directors had written thank you letters with my name on them. But to my son, I was just the woman who couldn't help cook for a birthday party. I thought about my house, the old-style home I'd bought in 2001 for $320,000. Now it was worth over $720,000. I'd kept it nice, fixed the heating 6 years ago, changed the electric wires, painted the outside myself. It was in my name. Everything was in my name. Through the window, I could see the lights of downtown Seattle shining far away. Somewhere out there, Marcus and Lisa were probably getting ready for tomorrow's party, angry at my health problem. Picked up my phone again, opened my contacts. Patricia Wong lived next door. We'd worked together at the library for 25 years before she'd left to become a lawyer about property. Typed a message. Got time for a visit? Need some help on house law? Her answer came fast. Visiting hours tomorrow, 36. I'll bring tea. The good kind, not hospital water. I smiled for the first time that day. Real smile. The machine beeped its same sound. The tube dripped. Outside, the night nurses laughed about something at their desk. Life kept going, not caring about my small problem. But something had changed. Some important string that had been holding me in place had broken cleanly. I felt lighter, clearer. 8 more days in the hospital, the doctor said. 8 days to rest, get better, and think very carefully about what came next. I closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Instead, I planned. Patricia arrived the next afternoon carrying 2 cups from the tea shop on Pine Street. She sat in the plastic visitor's chair, her reading glasses on her nose like they always were. You look tired, she said, handing me the cup. Stroke will do that. Took a sip. The tea was perfect. Green tea, no sugar. Exactly how I'd drunk it for 45 years. Thanks for coming, she waved a hand. Please, we survived 20 library board meetings together. This is nothing. Her face turned serious. So, what happened? Marcus said. You had a small problem when I saw her at Whole Foods last week. She said. What? Yeah, I ran into her and Lisa at the store. They were buying expensive meat, bottles of wine, fancy stuff. Said they were planning a party. Stop. That was 5 days before your stroke, Helen. The beeping on my machine got faster. I made myself breathe slowly, carefully. They knew I was sick. I told Marcus I wasn't feeling good that whole week. Patricia's mouth got tight. The party was tomorrow, right? That's what she said. Tomorrow. I looked at the light green walls. While I'm connected to machines, they're having fun. There's something else. Patricia moved uncomfortably. I didn't want to say it, but with what's happening 3 weeks ago, I saw them coming back from somewhere tan, happy. Lisa was taking designer bags from a car. They went on a trip. Looked like it. I asked Lisa how the trip was, and she got this scared look. Said it was just a quick weekend thing. He pulled out his phone, looked at something. I checked my security camera video. They were gone for 10 days. The car that brought them back had an airport shuttle sign. Hawaii maybe, or Mexico. Somewhere with beaches and pretty drinks. While I'd been fixing the water pipes, they said were making strange sounds. A $1,600 fix that the plumber said could have waited another year. I laughed. The sound came out mean. Helen. I'm fine. I'm completely fine. I set down the teacup carefully. Tell me something, Patricia. You still know about property law? His eyes got big. That's what you wanted to talk about, yes, and other things. I moved the bed, sitting up more, even though my head hurt. If someone's been living in your house, no rent for 4 years, what can you do? Patricia leaned back thinking. In Washington, you've got many choices, especially if there's no rent paper. He pulled a small notebook from his jacket pocket. Always the lawyer. You'd file to make them leave through the King County Court. Without a rent paper, they're called month-to-month renters. You'd need to give them at least 60 days notice under Washington law. RCW 59.18.200. 60 days? I thought about the number. That's okay. Helen, are you really thinking what if someone tried to borrow money on your property without asking? Wrote fake signatures on bank papers. His pen stopped moving. That's stealing. Crime. Bank stealing, fake writing. We're talking serious charges. He looked at my face. Has someone done this? Maybe. Maybe that person would be looking at up to 6 years in prison. Washington also has state charges for stealing identity and fake writing. Class B crime. He sat down his notebook. Helen, what's going on? The door opened. A nurse, different from Rosa, came in to check my health. We sat quiet while she worked, writing on my chart, asking normal questions about pain. When she left, I spoke quietly. I need you to do me a something. After I leave the hospital, I want you to check something. Public records, money reports, if you can look at them legally. Marcus and Lisa's money situation. That's not exactly. I'm not asking you to do anything bad. Just public records, property problems, court papers, that kind of thing. You know how to look at that world better than I do. Patricia looked at me for a long moment. All right, but Helen, whatever you're thinking, I'm thinking about keeping what's mine. I looked at his eyes. I'm thinking about 40 years at the library, about the retirement money I earned, about the house I bought with my own money. I'm thinking about being told not to come home while I'm getting better from a stroke. He nodded slowly. I'll make some calls, see what I can find. After he left, I spent the afternoon looking at the ceiling and thinking not about the recent years. Those hurt too much. I went back further. Marcus at 6, losing his favorite toy at the park. How he'd cried because he thought it meant he was bad. I'd sat him down, told him how losing things happens, how we learn to be careful. He'd looked for that toy every day for weeks. Marcus at 13, angry because I wouldn't let him go to a concert in Portland. You don't believe me. You never believe me. 3 weeks later, 4 kids from his school went to that concert and got in trouble for bad things. He'd never said sorry, but he'd hugged me on that Sunday morning. Marcus at 20, college finish day. I'd given him a check for $6,000, my savings from a year of extra work. Start your life good, I'd said. He'd cried, promised to make me proud. Where did that boy go? The days mixed together. Rosa taught me breathing ways. Dr. Kim explained my medicines, blood pressure pills, blood thinners, brain health pills. I nodded, asked questions, acted like a good patient, but my mind worked all the time. On the 6th day, Patricia returned with a brown folder. You're not going to like this, he said, pulling the chair close. He opened the folder, showing printed papers. Marcus and Lisa have a total debt of about $267,000. The number stayed in the air like smoke. The Mercedes is borrowed for $92,000 at 7.2% interest. Marcus has debts from a failed business, something called Chen Marketing Partners, totaling $135,000. People are trying to collect money from him. They've got 4 Max store cards between them, another $40,000. I thought about each number, saving it away. What about money coming in? Lisa makes $48,000 each year at Summit PR Group. Marcus, he turned a page. Marcus hasn't made steady money in 4 years. Different paper forms for freelance work. Nothing big, so they're drowning. Worse than that, Patricia pulled out another paper. I found a loan paper at Chase Bank filed 3 weeks ago. It's a refinancing request for your property on Maple Street. The signatures, he pointed. That's not your signature, Helen. I've seen your writing 1,000 times. There was cold written proof. My heart rate stayed the same this time. Felt calm, focused. What's your house worth now? Patricia asked quietly. The county check came back at $720,000 last year. He made a low whistle. That's a lot of house value to steal. That's a lot of reason to get rid of an unwanted mother, I said. The words tasted like metal. Use every connection you can, Patricia. I want to know everything. Every debt, every missed payment, every legal paper. Can you do that? Can he stop? Helen, are you sure about this way? Once you start, I'm already on the way. They put me here. I pointed at the hospital room, at the machines keeping me alive. I'm just choosing which way to walk. After Patricia left, I picked up my phone, looked through old photos. Marcus and Lisa's wedding 6 years ago. I'd paid for half of it, $22,000. Just to help us begin, right, Mom? Lisa had hugged me, called me her angel. I deleted the photo. One by one I went through my pictures, deleted every image of them. 4 years of memories erased with steady taps of my thumb. When I finished, only older photos remained. Marcus as a child. Marcus in college. Marcus before Lisa. Before the debt, before the taking advantage. Dr. Kim let me leave on the 8th day. Take it easy, Mrs. Chen. No hard work. Someone picking you up. I'll be fine, I said. The taxi driver helped me into his car, made small talk about the weather while we drove through morning traffic. Seattle looked different somehow, sharper, clearer. We passed the library where I'd worked on the children's reading program in 2005. The coffee shop where I used to get lunch during busy season. 40 years of my life mixed into this city's story. The driver turned onto Maple Street. My house came into view. The old-style gem I'd kept nice for many years. The grass looked good. Lisa must have paid someone to cut it with my money, probably. In the driveway sat a car I'd never seen before. A silver Mercedes GLE, shining in the April sunlight, price sticker still a little visible in the back window. Smiled. Right here is good, I told the driver. As I walked toward my front door, I could see through the window. New furniture in the living room, a huge flat TV on the wall. Everything looked expensive, perfect, built on debt and stolen house value. I opened the door with my key, stepped inside. Lisa and Marcus were in the kitchen. They turned, faces going white. Mom, Marcus said. You're home. Surprise, I said quietly. Hope the party was nice. Lisa's coffee cup made a loud noise against the stone counter. Marcus stood frozen by the fridge, a bottle of expensive beer halfway to his mouth. The kitchen smelled like expensive takeout Chinese food from that place on Broadway that cost $25 for fried rice. We weren't expecting you, Lisa said finally. He set the beer down slowly like I was a dangerous animal he didn't want to scare. The hospital said another week at least. They said I could get better at home. I moved carefully into the living room, one hand on my chest. Not totally acting, my head still hurt. Thought I'd be more comfortable in my own bed. The furniture hit me again now that I was closer. A big sofa in dark blue that looked straight out of a fancy catalog. A coffee table made of glass and gold metal. The huge TV had to be 80 inches, maybe more. I did quick math in my head. Probably $15,000 worth of new furniture at least. This is different, I said. Lisa laughed. But it came out wrong. Too high. Yeah, we did some redecorating. The old stuff was so worn out, you know. We thought you'd like the change. Did you now? She jumped at my voice. Let her worry. Marcus cleared his throat, trying to take control. We were actually going to surprise you when you got back. Make the place feel fresh, more modern. Investment in the property value, really. I turned to look at him. Really look. He'd gotten heavier since they moved in. Soft around the middle. The kind of soft that came from not working, from spending days on the sofa. He wore a shirt with a logo I didn't know. Probably costs more than my whole closet. Speaking of investments, I said, that's a nice car outside. Lisa and Marcus looked at each other. Quick, nervous. The Mercedes. Marcus's confidence came back a little, making his chest bigger. Yeah, got a great deal on it. Part of building the right look for my marketing business. Clients expect a certain level of success, you know. Which marketing business is this? The photography one or the camera one or the food blog? I sat down on their new sofa carefully. Hard to keep track. His face got red. This is different. Digital marketing. Real money in it. I've got 4 clients lined up already. 4 clients in 4 years would be good. But I didn't say that. Instead, I pulled out my phone, made a show of checking something. Must be doing well then. That's what $65,000 for. SUV. 58, Lisa said quickly. And we borrowed it. Obviously, everyone borrows cars now, Mom. Smart money handling. Smart money handling from a woman who'd maxed out 4 store cards buying furniture she didn't need with money she didn't have. I let the quiet stretch, watched them move nervously. "Where's my sewing room?" I asked, another look between them. "About that," Marcus started. "We changed it into a yoga studio. Lisa's been really committed to her fitness journey, and with my knee problems, I needed proper space." "Your knee problems?" "Yeah, from the fall last year." I didn't remember any fall, but then they'd stopped telling me things around the time they stopped acting grateful. "And my bedroom." "Your bedroom?" Lisa laughed again, that same nervous sound. "It's still your bedroom, Mom. What are you talking about?" I stood slowly, headed for the stairs. They followed me, like worried puppies, and I could hear Marcus whispering something to Lisa. The stairs took work. My legs felt weak, my head hurt. I wasn't faking that part. My bedroom door was open. Inside, I found Marcus's office set up. 2 computer screens, a fancy desk chair, wires running everywhere. My bed had been pushed against the wall. Boxes of my things were piled in the corner like trash waiting for pickup day. "This is temporary," Lisa said from the doorway. "Marcus just needed the space for his workstation, and you were in the hospital, so we thought you thought I wouldn't notice." I picked up one of the boxes. Inside were photo albums, my old library awards, personal papers, everything that mattered to me, shoved away like trash. Where exactly was I supposed to sleep? "The guest room's all made up for you," Marcus said. "It's actually nicer, quieter, away from street noise. The guest room in my own house." I set the box down, turned to face them. Lisa's eyes were wet, but I couldn't tell if the tears were real or fake. Marcus stood behind her, arms crossed, mouth set. "I need to rest," I said quietly. "Long day." They almost ran away. I stood in what used to be my bedroom and looked at Marcus's setup. One of the computer screens showed an email inbox. I couldn't read the messages from here, but I could see the senders. Collection agencies, many credit card companies, something from the Washington Department of Revenue. Interesting. The guest room was made up. They'd at least done that much. I unpacked my hospital bag slowly, hanging my shirts in the small closet. Through the window, I could see Patricia's house next door. The lights were on in his office. I made a note to visit him tomorrow. Over the next week, I played my part perfectly. Week getting better, mostly staying in my room. I took my medicines at the dinner table where they could see, made pain faces when I moved too fast. Let them think the stroke had broken something important inside me. Lisa started making breakfast. Not well, she'd burned the eggs twice, but she tried. Marcus asked about my doctor visits, pretended to care about my therapy schedule. I watched them learn their ways. Marcus slept until 11 most days. Lisa left for work at 9, came back around 6:30. They ordered takeout 5 nights out of 6. Nothing cheap. When they thought I was napping, they argued. Always about money. "We can't pay this," Lisa said quietly. One afternoon I was in my room. Door a little open. "The Mercedes payment is $1,350 a month, Marcus. $1,350. So ask her for help. He's got money." "I'm not asking my mother for more money." "Why not? You've done it before." "He always gives in." "Always gives in." The word hurt more than my head pain. "He's different since the hospital," Lisa said. "Older. He's old and sick. Probably feeling sorry for himself. Give it time. He'll come around." I waited until I heard them go out. Some work thing for Lisa's company. Then I went downstairs and looked through the mail they'd left. On the counter, bills mostly. A notice from Chase Bank about their loan paper. More papers needed. The refinancing try. Patricia had been right. I took photos of everything with my phone. Every bill, every late notice, every credit card paper they'd been careless enough to leave visible. Built my case, piece by piece. That Sunday, Patricia came over for tea. Marcus and Lisa were at Whole Foods doing their weekly food shopping. My money, of course, since they'd forgotten their wallets. "You look better," Patricia said, though his eyes said he knew I was acting. "Eye appearances can fool you." I poured us both tea. I'd started buying the expensive leaves from the tea shop, leaving the receipts where Lisa would find them. Let her see what her mother could still buy. Did you find a good property lawyer? Martha Lee works out of downtown. She's expensive, $400 an hour, but she's very good. He pulled out a business card. I told her you might call. I'll set up a meeting. I put the card in my wallet. What about the refinancing? Bank said no last week. Paper problems, they said. Basically, they figured out the signature was fake. He stirred his tea slowly. That should be the end of it. But Helen, if you wanted to make charges, not yet. I looked toward the window. The Mercedes sat in the driveway, shining silver paint showing every mark. I want them to understand the full size of their situation first, which is hopeless. Smiled. $267,000 in debt. Aging mother who's supposed to be their safety money. And now their safety money is waking up. Patricia looked at my face. You've changed. Almost dying experiences have that effect. I heard a car door close. They were back. You should go. Don't want them thinking we're planning, aren't we? We're old friends having tea, that's all. He left through the back door just as Lisa and Marcus came in the front, arms full of Whole Foods bags. Organic this, free range. That must have been a $350 shopping trip. Lisa seemed surprised to see me in the kitchen. You're up. Feeling stronger every day, said. I pulled out my wallet, made a show of checking my bank balance on my phone, made sure the screen was easy to see. $268,000 in my main checking account. Enough to catch their attention, not enough to show my full hand. Thinking about treating myself, maybe a trip somewhere, Japan maybe. Always wanted to see. Cherry blossoms. Lisa's eyes locked on that number. I could almost see the thinking running through her head. Japan sounds amazing, Marcus said, suddenly happy. You know, I've been looking into travel marketing. Growing business could give you some ideas. That's nice. I put my phone away, but I like planning my own trips. Always have. I went back upstairs, leaving them with their food and their want. That night I called Martha Lee's office and left a message. Then I opened my banking app and did something I'd been planning since the hospital. I made a new will. Everything to the Seattle Children's Hospital. Every dollar, everything, every last paperclip. Marcus and Lisa would get nothing. I saved the paper, emailed it to myself, and printed 2 copies on my home printer. Left one on the kitchen counter where they'd find it in the morning. Then I took my medicine, closed my eyes and slept. Better than I had in 4 years. The screaming started at 7 in the morning. I was already awake, sitting in the guest room with my tea when I heard Lisa's voice crack through the house like a whip. What the heck is this? Marcus's answer was quiet, but the tone carried worry. I counted to 40 before going downstairs. Gave them time to really understand what they'd found. Lisa stood in the kitchen holding my will like it was proof in a crime case. Her face had gone red and blotchy. Makeup already smudged from crying. Marcus walked behind her, pulling his hands through his hair over and over. Morning, I said, pouring myself a fresh cup. Sleep well. What is this? Lisa pushed the papers at me. Her hands shook. The Seattle Children's Hospital. You're leaving everything to sick kids. Yes, everything. The house, your retirement accounts, all of it, every penny. I took a sip of tea. Green tea, smooth taste. They do. Good work. Help children who actually need something bigger than themselves. Marcus stopped walking. You can't be serious. We're your family. Are you? I looked at his eyes. Funny. Family usually shows up when someone's in the hospital. Family doesn't tell their mother not to come home. Lisa's tears came faster. I was upset, Mom. I said things I didn't mean. You know how I get when I'm worried. I know exactly how you get. I leaned against the counter, relaxed, calm. Inside I was watching. Every small face movement, every sign. You get worried about money, about keeping up appearances, about keeping up with everyone else who's actually earning what they spent. That's not fair, she said. Neither is faking someone's signature on a refinancing paper. The quiet that followed could have broken glass. Lisa's mouth opened, closed. Marcus went white, then red, then white again. Quite the colorful show. I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus said, but... His voice cracked on the last word. Chase Bank marked your paper. Paper problems. I pulled out my phone, showed them the photo I'd taken of the bank notice. Turns out banks are pretty good at finding fake writing. Who knew? Lisa sank into a chair. Mom, please let me explain. Explain what? How you tried to steal my house. How you've been taking my money for 4 years. I set my tea down carefully. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get jobs, real. You're going to pay your own bills. And you're going to start looking for somewhere else to live. You're kicking us out. Lisa's voice got very high. We have nowhere to go. Should have thought about that before treating me like a money machine with a heartbeat. Marcus stepped forward, mouth tight. You're being mean. We made one mistake. One. I laughed. Came out cold. Let's count, shall we? The $18,000 in store card debt I paid off. The $900. Camera for your food blog that lasted 2 weeks. The kitchen change, the cooking equipment, the laptop supplies. Should I continue? Those were investments in our future, Marcus said. No, those were investments in your dreams. Picked up my phone again. Martha Lee, property lawyer. I have a meeting with her this afternoon. Wanna guess what we'll be talking about? Lisa stood fast, chair making a loud noise. You wouldn't actually kick us out. Your own son. My own son told me not to come home while I was getting better from a stroke. Kept my voice level measured. That son doesn't exist anymore. I'm just protecting my things from strangers who happen to share my last name. Over the next week they tried everything. Lisa brought home my favorite meals, or tried to. The fish was overcooked, the rice underdone. She'd never learned to cook properly, always used takeout or my cooking. She sat across from me at dinner, trying small talk about her day at work, asking about my therapy. I answered in one word. Fine. Marcus suddenly became interested in home fixing. I found him in the garage one afternoon trying to organize my tools. He'd mixed up the screwdriver sets, put the hammers in the wrong drawers. 45 years of careful organizing destroyed in his try to appear helpful. What are you doing? I asked from the doorway. Thought I'd help out. You know, with your health and everything, you shouldn't be doing heavy work. So, you're destroying my tool organizing. I'm trying to help. His anger showed through mad feelings under the forced smile. You're making this impossible, Helen. It's Mrs. Chen, I said. And you can leave my tools alone. Their ways shifted. They started bringing up old memories. Remember when we went to the ocean, Mom? Remember my high school finish day? Remember how happy we all were? I remembered every moment they were trying to use against me. The difference was I also remembered the last 4 years. Memory's funny that way. Forgetting on purpose only works if everyone's playing along. The meeting with Martha Lee happened on a Thursday afternoon. Her office sat on the 12th floor of a building downtown. All glass and steel and expensive views. She was younger than I expected, 48 maybe, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Mrs. Chen. She shook my hand firmly. Patricia speaks highly of. He speaks highly of everyone. It's annoying. She laughed. Fair enough. Let's talk about your situation. I laid it out step by step. 4 years of living together without a rent paper. No rent paid, no formal agreement, the refinancing try with fake signatures, the debt load they were carrying. Martha took notes on a yellow legal pad, her pen moving quickly. Washington's landlord-tenant law is clear on this, she said when I finished. They're month-to-month renters. Since they've been there over a year, you need to give 60 days notice under RCW 59.18.200. After that, if they refuse to leave, you file to kick them out through the county court. And the fake writing, that's crime. Bank stealing, identity stealing, fake writing. Take your pick. She tapped her pen against the pad. You could file a police report. The King County lawyer would probably be interested given the amount involved. How interested? $720,000 property. They'd be very interested. Class B crime up to 6 years. She looked at my face. Is that the way you want to take I thought about Marcus. At 6 losing his toy. Marcus at 13 hugging me after that concert situation. Marcus at 20 crying at college finish. Then I thought about her face on that phone call, her voice saying, "Don't bother coming home. Let's start with the kicking out." I said the crime charges are power if they don't work with us. Martha pulled out a contract. My starting money is $6,000. Hourly rate is $400. Given the situation, I'd guess total costs around $15,000 to $18,000 if it goes to court. Money well spent. I pulled out my checkbook, the same one I'd had for 25 years. Worn leather cover. Pages filled with carefully written transactions. Wrote the check with steady hands. Back home, Lisa and Marcus were in the living room having what they probably thought was a private talk. I could hear them from the driveway. "He's not going to change," Marcus said. "The old woman's lost it." "He's not lost anything. He's punishing us for what? Being family. Using money that would have been ours anyway. For the phone call. For everything." Lisa's voice cracked. "I messed up, Marcus. I really messed up. So fix it. Cry more. Say sorry better. Old people always forgive their kids eventually. Old people." As if I were some general elderly person. Not the woman who'd raised Marcus, paid for his school, given him everything. I opened the front door loudly, made sure they heard me coming. They jumped apart like guilty teenagers. Lisa wiped her eyes quickly. Marcus straightened his shoulders, putting on his confident face. "How was your meeting?" Lisa asked, voice sweet like honey. "Productive." I set my keys in the bowl by the door. The ceramic bowl Marcus had made in middle school art class. One of the few things I'd kept from his childhood. Lawyer drawing up formal kicking out notices. "You'll get them early next week." "You're really doing this," Marcus said, not a question. "Did you think I wasn't?" "I think you're making a mistake." He stepped forward, and for a moment, I saw real anger flash across his face. "We could make this very difficult for you. Fights over property rights, elder abuse claims, mind hearings. Are you threatening me?" "I'm stating facts," but his voice shook. "Courts don't look kindly on people who kick out family members, especially elderly people who might not be thinking clearly after medical problem." Smiled. Actually smiled. "By all means try. You'll need a lawyer for that. Wonder how you'll pay for one given your debt situation." Lisa grabbed Marcus's arm. Just stop." She turned to me, and for a second I saw real fear in her eyes. "Mom, please. Can we talk about this? Really talk, not just talk." I moved toward the stairs. "You had 4 years to talk to me like I mattered. Now I'm done listening." That night, lying in the guest room that used to be for actual guests, I heard them arguing again. Louder this time, words falling over each other in worry. Lisa blamed Marcus. Marcus blamed Lisa. They both blamed me for being mean and cruel. Not once did they blame themselves. I pulled out my phone and recorded 40 seconds of their argument. Just insurance. Then I rolled over and went to sleep, the sound of their worry playing like a lullaby. The kicking out notices arrived on a Tuesday morning by special mail. I watched from the kitchen window as Lisa signed for the thick brown envelope. Her hand shook so badly the postal worker had to steady the board. Opened it right there on the porch. I saw her face go from confused to scared in the space of a breath. The papers shook in her grip as she read. Marcus appeared behind her, taking the papers from her hands. His mouth got tight enough to crack teeth. 60 days. That's what Martha had filed for. 60 days to leave the house, remove all things, and return the property to its rightful owner. The notice showed Washington Law RCW 59.18.200 in exact legal language that left no room for guessing. They came inside like a storm. Marcus slammed the door so hard a picture frame shook on the wall. Lisa's makeup had already started running. She'd been crying on the porch. "This is crazy," Marcus said, waving the papers. "You can't just throw us out on the street." "I'm not throwing you anywhere." I continued stirring my oatmeal calmly. "I'm giving you 60 days to find another place to live. That's more than fair." "Fair." Lisa's voice broke. We've lived here for 4 years. We have rights. You have the right to rent an apartment like every other grown person in America. I took a spoonful of breakfast, enjoyed the warmth. Think of this as your kicking out notice and your wake-up call. They came in the same envelope. Marcus dropped into a chair, running numbers I could see playing across his face. 2 months' rent money up front, first and last month's rent moving costs. With their debt load, they'd need at least $10,000 up front just to get a decent place. Money they didn't have. Where are we supposed to go? Lisa asked. Do you have any idea how expensive rent is in Seattle? I do actually. Checked online last night. 2-bedroom apartments in South Seattle run about $1,600 a month. Add utilities and you're looking at $1,800 total. I smiled slightly. Better start saving. This is revenge, Marcus said. Pure revenge. You're punishing us for one mistake. Many mistakes. And yes, it's making you responsible. New idea. No. Over the following week they hired a lawyer or tried to. The first 4 companies they contacted turned them down. Small starting money, complicated case, clients with obvious trust issues. Finally they found someone willing to take them on. David Park, according to the business card I found left on the counter. Works out of a strip mall in Renton. Reviews online were mixed at best. Park sent Martha a letter demanding we stop kicking out while they looked into their choices about renter rights and possible elder abuse claims. Martha called me, read it aloud, then laughed so hard I had to hold the phone away from my ear. He's fishing, she said. Classic worry move. Threatens elder abuse, mind issues, anything that might make you back down. Will it work? Only if you're actually not thinking right, which you're clearly not. I'll respond with medical papers from your doctors showing full brain function. We'll also include records of all the money you've given them over 4 years. Pattern of them using you, not the reverse. How long until court? They filed for a hearing. Judge Martinez's schedule is backed up. Probably mid-August for the actual kicking out hearing. Stop. Helen, there's something else you should consider. The fake writing. That bank paper. We could file crime charges. I've been thinking about that, weighing it. What would that involve? Police report to start. Seattle PD Money Crime Division. They'd look into it, hand it to the king. County lawyer. Given the amount involved and the clear proof, they'd likely take it to court. Marcus would be looking at a Class B crime. 4 to 6 years if found guilty. 4 to 6 years. I thought about Lisa visiting Marcus in jail, trying to explain to their future children why Daddy was gone. Thought about how that would destroy what was left of their lives. Then I thought about lying in that hospital bed, wires crossing my chest, listening to Marcus tell me not to come home. File it, I said. The police came on a Thursday. Detectives, Kim and Johnson, mid-40s, professional, thorough. I gave them everything. The bank papers showing the fake signature. My actual signature for comparison, the no letter showing paper problems. Even the photos I'd taken of other bills and papers. Marcus was out when they arrived. Lisa sat frozen on the new big sofa, watching the detectives take notes. Her face had gone white as paper. Mrs. Parker, Detective Kim said. Gently. Did you have knowledge of your husband's try to refinance this property? Lisa's mouth opened, closed. I tell you to speak with a lawyer before answering any questions, Detective Johnson added. This is a serious matter. Bank stealing is a federal crime. After they left, Lisa sat in shocked quiet for 25 minutes. I made myself a sandwich, ate it at the kitchen table, looked through the Seattle Times like it was any other Thursday. You called the police on us, she finally said. On your own family. I reported a crime. There's a difference. Marcus is going to jail. Do you understand that? Jail. He did a crime. I folded the newspaper neatly. Actions have results. Something I should have taught you better when you were younger. She stood fast, knocking over a pretty pillow. You're destroying our lives. No, sweetie. You destroyed your own lives. I'm just saying no to being hurt by it. That Sunday they made their most desperate play yet. Was in the garage organizing tools, putting them back the way they belonged after Marcus's help, when a white car pulled up. A woman in her 50s came out, carrying a clipboard and wearing an official-looking name tag. Social Services. Marcus appeared from nowhere, suddenly concerned and caring. "Thank you so much for coming, Miss Turner. We're really worried about him." I walked out slowly, wiping grease from my hands. Played it perfectly calm. "Can I help you, Mrs. Chen?" The woman, Miss Turner, smiled professionally. "I'm Carol Turner from Adult Protective Services. Your family called with some concerns about your health." "Did they now?" "They said you recently had a serious medical event and might be having some confusion, making fast decisions." She looked at her notes. "Maybe unsafe to live alone." I saw Marcus's game right away. Say I can't think right. Get control over me. Control my money. Not bad for someone who couldn't keep a marketing business running for a month. "Would you like to come inside?" "Yes. I just made fresh tea. We can talk." Inside, I gave Miss Turner the full tour, showed her my medicine organizer, perfectly sorted by day and time, my therapy schedule, never missed a visit, my medical records from Dr. Kim, all showing excellent recovery and full brain function. Then I showed her my work history, 40 years at Seattle Library System, the awards, the thank you letters from 4 different library directors, the reading program work, photos of me speaking at board meetings, presenting to the city. "As you can see," I said, "my mind is quite good." Miss Turner took notes, nodded. "Mrs. Chen, I'm required to ask, do you feel safe in this home? Is anyone pressuring you or controlling your money?" Interesting question. I pulled out the folder I'd prepared. Knew this was coming, thanks to Patricia's warning. Here are bank papers showing 4 years of money withdrawals. Helping my son and his wife. About $95,000 total. Here's the police report I filed about tried bank stealing. And here I handed her the kicking out notice. Here's my legal action to protect my property. Her eyes got big as she looked at everything I see. My son and daughter-in-law are in big debt. They're facing kicking out and possible crime charges. This call wasn't about my health. It was about them trying to keep control of my money. I kept my voice. Level factual. "I appreciate you doing your job, Ms. Turner. But as you can see, I'm the victim here, not the abuser." Marcus's face had gone from confident to gray. Lisa sat on the couch, head in her hands. Miss Turner stood, collecting her materials. "Mrs. Chen, you appear to be in full control of your mind and making informed decisions about your property and care. I'll note in my report that the concerns raised appear to be wrong." She turned to Lisa and Marcus. "Filing false reports with APS is a serious matter. I strongly suggest you focus on handling your own situation." After she left, the quiet stretched thin and dangerous. "Nice try," I said finally. "But I survived 45 years of library politics. You think one social worker was going to scare me?" "We were trying to help you," Marcus said weakly. "No, you were trying to steal from me legally instead of illegally. Points for being creative, I suppose." I headed for the stairs. 60 days until we're out. Better start packing. That night I heard them fighting again. Really fighting this time. Crashes, thuds. Lisa screaming that this was all Marcus's fault. Marcus shouting back that she was the one who made the phone call that started everything. I lay in bed listening to my family tear itself apart and felt nothing but the cold happiness of watching dominoes fall exactly as planned. July arrived with unusual heat. Seattle temperatures climbed into the 90s, and the house, built in 1928 without central air, became a pressure cooker of tension and sweat. Lisa stopped going to work some days. I'd hear her on the phone with her boss at Summit PR, making excuses about family problems and worry. Her voice carried through the thin walls, high and desperate. Marcus spent hours in what used to be my bedroom, door closed, doing whatever unemployed marketers do when their world falls down. The money pressure showed in small ways first. Generic brands appeared in the cupboard instead of organic. The expensive craft beers disappeared, replaced by cheap ones. I noticed Lisa's nails. She had always kept them professionally done, growing out, polished, chipped, and ignored. Patricia stopped by one afternoon while they were both out apartment hunting. He carried a folder under his arm and wore his serious face. "You're the talk of the neighborhood," he said, sitting in my porch chair. "Am I now?" Nancy Miller asked me about it at the grocery store. Said she heard Lisa and Marcus were being kicked out by Marcus's mother. He opened the folder. Then Sarah Park mentioned it at the hardware store. And Tom Henderson brought it up at the library board meeting. How does everyone know? Lisa told someone at her work that someone told their neighbor. Neighbors talk. He lifted his shoulders. You know how it works. Small community, big drama. The gossip chain. I'd forgotten about that particular weapon. In a neighborhood like this, established families, long-term residents, everyone knowing. Everyone's business reputation mattered. Lisa and Marcus were becoming the warning tale people whispered about over coffee. What are they saying? Asked. That you're being hurt by your son and his wife. That they've been living off you for years. That they tried to steal your house. Patricia pulled out a newspaper clipping. This doesn't help their case either. It was from the King County court records published in the legal notices section of the Seattle Times. My kicking out filing. Printed in black and white for anyone searching court papers. Chen v. Parker. Case number. Hearing date mid-August. Just like Martha said. Everything public record. Martha says this is good for us. I said shows pattern of behavior if they try to claim I'm being mean. It's more than good. It's devastating for them. Patricia leaned forward. Helen, I don't think you realize how bad their situation is. Between the debt, the kicking out, and the crime investigation, they're toxic. No landlord will touch them. No bank will loan to them. They're in freefall. I should have felt something. Guilt maybe. Sorry. Instead, I felt the same cold clearness that had kept me going since the hospital. They made their choices. They did, Patricia agreed. Just wanted you to know what's happening out there. The neighborhood's on your side completely. After he left, I sat on the porch, watching the afternoon shadows get longer. Across the street, Nancy Miller waved from her garden. Houses down, Tom Henderson gave me a thumbs up while walking his dog. The silent support of people who'd known me for many years. The court hearing arrived on a hot Tuesday in mid-August. The King County Courthouse downtown. Judge Martinez in charge. Martha met me outside wearing a navy suit that meant business. They're already inside, she said. Park looks nervous. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Bright lights, cheap wood panels. The seal of Washington mounted behind the judge's place. Lisa and Marcus sat at the other table with David Park, their strip mall lawyer. Lisa wore a conservative dress I'd never seen before, probably borrowed. Marcus had squeezed into a suit that didn't quite fit right, collar too tight, jacket pulling at the shoulders. Judge Martinez entered, mid-50s, gray hair, reading glasses. He looked at the file for several minutes before speaking. This is a kicking out case, he said. Chen versus Parker. Mrs. Chen seeks to remove renters from her property at 842 Maple Street after 60 days' notice. Ms. Lee, you're opening. Martha stood smoothly. Your Honor, this is a simple case. Mrs. Chen owns the property in question. The people living there have stayed there for 4 years without a rent paper, without paying rent, and without helping with house costs. Under RCW 59.18.200, Mrs. Chen provided proper notice. We're asking the court to grant the kicking out. Park stumbled through his answer, talked about verbal agreements, family duties, the hardship kicking out would. Judge Martinez listened with the patient look of someone who'd heard it all before. Mr. Park, the judge stopped him. Do you have any proof of a rental agreement? Any proof of rent payments? Well, no, Your Honor, but any lease, written or otherwise. It was an informal family arrangement. That's not a legal basis to prevent kicking out. Judge Martinez turned to me. Mrs. Chen, you're the property owner of record. Yes, Your Honor. Bought in 2001. Deed in my name alone. And you provided 60 days notice. As required. I did. The judge looked at more papers. I see there's also a pending crime investigation related to tried bank stealing involving this property. Marcus's face went white. Lisa grabbed his hand under the table. Yes, Your Honor, Martha said. The people living there tried to refinance Mrs. Chen's property without permission using fake signatures. The King County lawyer is reviewing charges. Judge Martinez's look hardened. He removed his glasses, fixed Lisa and Marcus with a look that could have frozen lava. So, you're living rent-free in your mother-in-law's house, not helping with money, and tried to steal his house value through stealing. Park opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Your Honor, Lisa said suddenly, voice cracking. My mother had a stroke. We were trying to help by faking his signature on loan papers. No, that's not. We were desperate. Being desperate doesn't make stealing okay, Miss Parker. The judge put his glasses back on. This court grants the kicking out. People living there have 30 days from today to leave the house. That's September 15th. Any things remaining after that date will be considered abandoned. The hammer came down sharp. Final. Lisa burst into tears. Marcus sat frozen, looking like he'd been hit by a truck. Park gathered his papers quickly, not looking at them. Outside the courthouse, Martha shook my hand. Clean win. 30 days is actually nice. Judge could have given them 15. September 15th, I repeated. The date felt meaningful somehow. Mid-September. New beginnings. They'll likely appeal, Martha warned. But given the situation, I doubt it'll go anywhere. You've got a solid case. I watched Lisa and Marcus exit the building. She leaned on him heavily, face buried in his shoulder. He stared straight ahead, mouth clenched. David Park said something to them, moved his hands helplessly, then walked away toward the parking garage. Even their lawyer was leaving them. Taxi ride home felt different, lighter. I looked at Seattle passing by, the food trucks, the bookstore buildings, the bridges crossing the water. My city, the place I'd spent my career trying to improve, to keep, to protect. Now I was protecting myself. That evening I found a note on the kitchen counter. Lisa's handwriting shaky and fast. Mom, please. We need to talk. Really talk before it's too late. I folded the note carefully, put it in my pocket, went to my computer and checked my bank accounts, my investment money, my retirement funds, everything in order, everything protected. Then I pulled up rental listings for South Seattle. Found several options in their price range. Small apartments, older buildings, nothing fancy but okay. Printed them out, left them on the counter where Lisa would find them. A peace offering, sort of. More like a road map to their new reality. Through the walls, I heard Marcus's voice raised. Your mother is destroying us. Everything we built. We built nothing. Lisa shouted back. We lived off him like parasites. Don't you see that? The first crack of understanding about time. I made myself dinner. Salmon, cooked vegetables, a glass of decent wine. Ate alone at the kitchen table with the window open. Warm August air carrying the smell of roses from Nancy Miller's garden. 28 days until they were gone. 28 days until my house was mine again. Could wait. September brought no relief from the heat or the tension. The house felt smaller. Each day, packed with box things and angry feelings. Lisa and Marcus moved through the rooms like ghosts, avoiding each other, avoiding me, avoiding the reality of September 15th coming with the certainty of a freight train. The Mercedes disappeared on a Thursday morning. I was drinking tea on the porch when the tow truck arrived. Bank of America repo, according to the logo on the side. Two men worked fast, hooking up the SUV while Lisa watched from the doorway in her bathrobe. Her face had gone flat, without expression, like she'd run out of reactions to process. Marcus came running out. You can't take that. I'm only 3 months behind. 4 months, sir, the driver said, checking his papers. And according to the lender, you haven't returned their calls in 8 weeks. I was dealing with a family emergency. Not my problem. The truck lifted the Mercedes smoothly. $92,000 worth of image building disappearing down Maple Street. Several neighbors watched. From their yards. I saw Nancy Miller shaking her head and Tom Henderson actually filming it on his phone. The theater of results, better than anything on television. Marcus stood in the driveway long after the truck disappeared, arms hanging at his sides. Then he turned and saw me on the porch with my tea. "Enjoying the show?" he asked bitterly. "Just drinking my morning tea." "You made it a show." He walked toward me, fists tight. For a moment I thought he might actually swing. Hope he would. Honestly. Hitting charges would make everything so much cleaner. "This is all your fault," he said, voice low and dangerous. "Everything that's happening to us." "No, Marcus, this is all your fault. Mine was just stopping the bleeding." I took another sip. "How's the apartment search going?" His mouth worked. "Every place we apply turns us down. Bad money history, kicking out on record, pending crime charges were untouchable." "Results," I said simply. "Funny how they add up." He stormed back inside. The door slammed hard enough to shake the porch railings. That afternoon, detectives Kim and Johnson returned. Marcus's face went from angry to terrified in the span of a breath when he saw them through the window. They sat in the living room, my expensive new living room, thanks to debt-borrowed furniture, and laid out the situation in calm, professional tones. "The King County lawyer is prepared to file charges," Kim said. "Bank stealing, fake writing, identity stealing. We're looking at a Class B crime. Standard sentence runs 4 to 6 years. Lisa made a sound like a hurt animal. Marcus's hand shook. "However," Johnson continued, "the lawyer is willing to offer a deal. Mr. Parker admits to tried stealing, accepts 4 years supervised probation, and pays back money of $60,000 to Mrs. Chen. No jail time if he follows fully." $60,000. I watched Marcus process that number. Watched him calculate how impossible it was, how completely beyond his reach. "And if he doesn't take the deal?" Lisa asked quietly. "Trial, if found guilty, required minimum of 4 years in state jail, possible maximum of 6. Plus paying back money, legal fees, court costs." Kim handed Marcus a business card. "You've got until next Tuesday to decide. Talk to your lawyer." After they left, Marcus sat still on the big sofa. Lisa walked back and forth, arms wrapped around herself, spiraling into full worry mode. $60,000, she repeated. "Where are we supposed to get $60,000? "Your mother," Marcus said flatly. "Ask him." They both turned to look at me. I'd been standing in the kitchen doorway seeing the whole scene. "Absolutely not," I said. "Mom, please." Lisa's voice broke. "Marcus will go to jail. Our lives will be destroyed. Your lives are already destroyed. You did that yourselves." I pulled out a chair, sat down at my own kitchen table. "Paid your debts before. 18,000 for store cards, 10,000 for equipment, kitchen change. Every single time you promised things would change. They never did. This is different. This is exactly the same. You want me to save you so you can keep pretending your choices don't matter." I shook my head. "I'm done being your safety net, Lisa. You're going to land on the ground this time. Feel how hard it is." Marcus stood fast. "You're a miserable old woman who can't stand seeing other people happy. I'm a woman who finally stopped letting her family steal from her." I looked at his eyes calmly. "Take the deal, Marcus. 4 years probation is better than jail. Figure out how to make the payments. Get a job, a real one. Join the rest of us in the grown-up world." He stormed out. Lisa stayed, tears running down her face. "I remember when you used to love me," she said softly. "I still love you. That's why this hurts." I stood, moved toward the stairs. "But love doesn't mean letting you destroy yourself or me." Over the next 3 weeks, their apartment search grew more and more desperate. They'd applied to 28 places according to the spreadsheet I saw Lisa working on. 28 no's, the kicking out on their record, Marcus's pending crime case, their combined debt load. They'd become untouchable in Seattle's hard rental market. Finally, they found something. A studio apartment in South Seattle near Pacific Highway. Not the fancy area they'd imagined for themselves. The building was old, the neighborhood rough, but the landlord, some guy who owned several rundown properties, agreed to take them for $1,250 a month, plus a huge security deposit of $3,500. Lisa's father loaned them the money. I'd never met the man. He and Lisa's late mother had divorced when Lisa was young. Minimal contact after, but desperation makes people reach out to anyone who might help. "We're signing the lease tomorrow," Lisa announced one evening. "Move-in date is September 15th. "Convenient timing," I said. She looked tired. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup, wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt. The polished PR professional had disappeared, replaced by this hollow-eyed stranger. "I found something else too," she said when I was packing in the garage. She handed me an old shoebox. Inside were letters, ones I'd written to her during her freshman year of college, pages of motherly advice, encouragement, silly jokes to make her laugh during test week. I'd sent one every week for the entire year. "I'd forgotten about these," she said, reading them now. "I don't recognize that person anymore. The daughter-in-law you wrote to, the one who cared about something besides money and appearances. She's still in there somewhere. Is she?" Lisa's voice cracked. "'Cause I'm not sure anymore. I look at what we did to you. What I did, and I don't understand how we got here. One bad decision at a time," I said, adding up. She nodded slowly. "Marcus is taking the deal. His lawyer says it's the smart move. $60,000 in paying back money over 4 years. He'll have to get a real job finally. And you?" "I'm staying at Summit PR. They haven't fired me yet, though. Everyone knows about the kicking out." She laughed bitterly. "I'm the office scandal. The woman whose mother kicked her out. The woman who tried to steal her mother-in-law's house." Corrected. "Words matter, Lisa." She picked up the shoebox. "Can I keep these? The letters? They're yours." She left the kitchen carrying pieces of a better past. When things had been simpler. When she'd been someone worth writing to every week. The last week of September arrived with cooler temperatures and a sense of ending. Boxes filled every room. U-Haul bookings were made. Lisa and Marcus barely spoke to each other, communicating through text messages and sticky notes. I watched it all with the distance of a librarian observing a failed program, documenting the collapse, taking notes, learning lessons for future use. On the morning of September 14th, Marcus signed the deal agreement at the courthouse. 4 years probation, $60,000 in paying back money, community service requirements. Judge Martinez was in charge of that too. Made sure Marcus understood every term, every condition, every result of breaking rules. "This is mercy, Mr. Parker," the judge said. "Don't waste it." Marcus nodded numbly. Signed everywhere the lawyer indicated. That evening I sat on my porch, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and purple. Tomorrow they'd be gone. Tomorrow my house would be mine again. Tomorrow I could start fixing what they'd broken. Not just the physical space but something harder to name. Patricia joined me with 2 teas. We sat in comfortable quiet, the way old friends do. "You won," he said finally. "Did I? Legally, financially, morally?" "Yes, absolutely." He took a sip. "But Helen, you look tired." "I am tired." I stared at the sunset. Winning is exhausting. Regrets. Thought about that. About the stroke, about the phone call, about every moment that led to this one. "No," I said finally. They needed to learn this lesson. I just wish I hadn't been the one who had to teach it. We sat until the stars came out. 2 old friends on a porch, watching the end of something that never should have happened in the first place. September 15th started cool and gray. Marine fog rolled in from the water, covering the neighborhood in thick moisture that stuck to everything. Good weather for an ending. The U-Haul arrived at 8 in the morning. Marcus had rented the smallest size they offered, 12 feet, barely enough for a studio apartment's worth of furniture. He and Lisa loaded boxes in tense quiet, working like strangers, forced together by situation rather than marriage. I stayed out of their way, made tea, read the newspaper, pretended this was a normal Saturday morning. But I watched through the kitchen window, writing down every trip they made from house to truck. Around 1 in the afternoon, Lisa came inside one last time. She was searching for something in the garage, digging through the boxes. I'd moved there months ago when Marcus took over my bedroom. I heard her moving things around, the scrape of cardboard on concrete. Then quiet. I walked to the garage door. Lisa stood frozen, holding a cardboard box I'd forgotten existed. Inside were my awards from the library system. 40 years of thank you letters, certificates, plaques, the Seattle Historic Library Award from the mayor in 1998, the Library Excellence Award from the Washington Library Association, letters from board members thanking me for specific programs, newspaper clippings about the children's reading program I'd helped design. "What is all this?" she asked quietly. "My career." She pulled out the Historic Library Award, running her fingers over the written brass plate. "You helped start 12 reading programs in poor areas. Says so right here. Why didn't you ever tell me? You never asked." Lisa set the award down carefully like it might break. Pulled out another. This one from the governor's office, recognizing my work on statewide library reform. Then another and another. A lifetime of work she'd never bothered to learn about. "There's a newspaper article here," she said, holding up a yellowed clipping from the Seattle Times from 2006. "Helen Chen, Seattle's quiet champion of literacy, talks about how you personally fought budget cuts that would have closed 3 libraries. You testified at 22 different board meetings. You won. Remember, Mom this says you were offered a position in the mayor's office. Chief library advisor. You turned it down. The job required too much travel. You were in high school. I wanted to be home for dinner. I leaned against the door frame. Priorities." She looked at me then. Really looked like she was seeing someone she'd never met. "Had no idea. All these years I thought you were just a library worker, a desk job. Nothing special. Nothing special." I repeated. The word hurt more than I expected. "Is that what you thought? We assumed." She trailed off, face getting red. "Marcus said you were probably making 45 or 50,000 a year when you retired, that your retirement money was small, that you needed us as much as we needed you." The depth of their not knowing was almost impressive. "My retirement money is 98,000 each year, plus Social Security, plus investment returns." Her mouth opened, closed. "How much? How much do you have saved?" "More than enough." I wasn't going to give her exact numbers. Let her imagination fill in the blanks. "The house alone is worth 720,000. Then there's retirement accounts, investments, bonds." I was a library worker, Lisa, not a charity case. She sank onto an overturned box, awards scattered around her feet. "We thought we were helping you, keeping you company. Marcus said elderly people need family around to stay healthy. Marcus said a lot of easy things. Oh my God." She put her head in her hands. "We treated you like you were nothing, just a wallet with a pulse. And all this time you were someone important, someone who mattered. I always mattered. You just stopped noticing." Marcus appeared in the garage doorway. "Lisa, we need to go. The studio's rental office closes at 4. He saw the awards. Saw Lisa's face. "What's going on? Did you know Mom was basically a city hero?" Lisa held up the Historic Library Award that he saved entire neighborhoods, that the governor personally thanked him for his work. Marcus's face went carefully blank. "That's great, Helen. Very impressive." "You knew," Lisa said slowly. "Knew, and you didn't tell me." "I knew he had a decent retirement money." "So what?" "So we've been treating him like he was some poor retired worker who needed our help." Her voice climbed. "When really we were the ones drowning and he was the only thing keeping us alive." "Keep your voice down." Marcus looked toward the street where neighbors were definitely listening. "This isn't the time." "When is the time, Marcus?" "After we've lost everything. After we've burned every bridge." Lisa stood, pushing the box toward him. "Look at this. Really look. This is who my mother is, and we tried to steal his house." The shame hit her all at once. I watched it spread across her face like a stain. The full weight of what they'd done, who they'd done it to, what they'd destroyed in the process. She started crying. Huge gasping sobs that shook her whole body. Marcus tried to take her arm. She pulled away hard. Don't touch me. This is your fault. You told me he was just an old woman with some savings. You told me. We deserve this house more than he did. You told me. She broke off, crying too hard to continue. I told you what you wanted to hear, Marcus said coldly. Don't pretend you weren't part of every decision we made. The truth of it shut her up. She had been part of it. Every choice, every manipulation, every casual cruelty. They'd built their dreams together, brick by brick. I picked up one of the awards, the one from the Washington Library Association. Solid wood with brass writing, and set it back in the box carefully. You should finish loading. The rental office closes soon. Lisa wiped her face roughly. Mom, not now. I couldn't do this now. Couldn't process their late understanding while they stood in my garage, surrounded by proof of their not knowing. Just finish, please. They loaded the last boxes in quiet. The U-Haul filled slowly. Furniture that had looked so impressive in my spacious old-style house now looked cheap and shabby in the harsh daylight. The West Elm big sofa had a stain I'd never noticed. The glass coffee table had a cracked leg. All of it bought on borrowed money they couldn't afford to impress people who didn't care. Marcus climbed into the driver's seat. Lisa stopped at the passenger door, looking back at the house one more time. Her eyes were red, swollen. She looked small, less. I'll call you, she said, once we're settled. If you want. I do want. I need to figure out how to say sorry for something this big. Start with being honest with yourself, I said, about who you became and why. She nodded, got in the truck. The diesel engine made noise, and they pulled away from the curb slowly. I watched until they turned the corner onto 42nd Avenue and disappeared. The house felt different right away, quieter, larger, like it had been holding its breath for 4 years and could finally breathe out. I walked through the rooms slowly, taking count. They'd left the furniture, couldn't fit it in the studio. I supposed left the TV too. The expensive camera sat on the counter, gathering dust, a monument to failed dreams. In what had been my bedroom, I found Marcus's office setup still partly put together. 2 computer screens, wires everywhere, the fancy desk chair. He'd forgotten it in the rush. I'd have Patricia help me take it to Goodwill. My bed was there too, pushed against the wall, unmade and dusty. I stripped the sheets, threw them in the washing machine, remade it with fresh linens from the closet, took back my space inch by inch. The yoga studio in the garage still held Lisa's exercise equipment, weights, a yoga mat, dumbbells, probably $1,400 worth of gear gathering dust, another donation pile. I spent the afternoon cleaning, wiping down surfaces, vacuuming corners, opening windows to let fresh air chase away 4 years of stored tension. The house slowly changed back into mine. Not perfect, not yet, but recognizable. That evening Patricia came over with steaks and a bottle of decent whiskey. We grilled in the backyard, standing around my Weber like we used to before Lisa and Marcus moved in. The meat sizzled, fat dripping onto coals, smoke rising into the cooling September air. How do you feel? Patricia asked. Empty, I admitted. Relieved. Angry. All of it at once. That's healthy. He flipped the steaks expertly. Means you're human. Sometimes I wish I wasn't. We ate at the patio table, watching the sunset paint the sky, in shades of orange and pink. The neighbors' lights came on one by one. Tom Henderson waved from his deck. Nancy Miller called out a greeting from her garden. Life in the neighborhood continuing as it always had. The drama passed, the neighborhood settling back into comfortable routine. I was just Helen Chen again. Not the wronged mother, not the kicking out landlord, just Helen. Did she realize? Patricia asked about your career, your reputation. She found my awards, saw the newspaper articles. I took a drink of whiskey, felt the burn, had a moment of clearness about exactly who she'd been stealing from. Better late than never. Is it? I wasn't sure. The realization came too late to matter after the damage was already done. Knowledge without change is just guilt. Give her time. Maybe she'll surprise you. Maybe. But I wasn't holding my breath. That night, I slept in my own bed for the first time in months. The room was mine again. The house was mine again. Everything exactly as it should have been all along. As I drifted off, I couldn't help wondering, was winning supposed to feel this hollow? For weeks passed before Lisa called. I'd spent those weeks step by step taking back my house. Gave away the expensive furniture to a charity that helped abuse survivors. Seemed fitting somehow. Took Marcus's forgotten exercise equipment to Goodwill. Watching the workers load 50-pound weights into their truck. Repainted my bedroom. Hanging my own photos back on the walls. Pictures from library projects. Historic buildings. Help save. Seattle landmarks I'd influenced. The house felt like mine again. Smelled like mine. Moved around me the way a well-worn shoe fits a foot. Comfortable, familiar, right? Patricia helped me put in new locks. Probably unnecessary, he said. But it sends a message. What message? That chapter's closed permanently. When Lisa's call came, I almost didn't answer. Her name on my phone screen brought back too much. The good memories now tainted by everything that followed. But curiosity. Her voice sounded small, tired. Can we talk? We're talking now. I mean in person, please. There are things I need to say to you. Thought about saying no. Would have been easier, but I'd spent 4 years avoiding difficult talks, letting small problems grow into disasters. Maybe it was time to face things straight on. The tea shop on Pine Street, I said. Tomorrow at 3. She arrived 15 minutes early. I watched her through the window as she sat at an outdoor table, playing with her phone, checking the time over and over. She wore simple clothes, jeans, a plain t-shirt, hair pulled back, no makeup, the polished facade completely gone. I ordered my tea slowly, made her wait, not out of cruelty, just testing whether she'd stay or run. When I finally sat down across from her, she looked up with red-rimmed eyes. "Thanks for meeting me," she said. "You look terrible." A bitter laugh escaped her. "Feel terrible? The studio it's small. Really small. We can hear our neighbors through the walls. A leak in the bathroom the landlord won't fix. And Marcus," she trailed off. "What about Marcus? We're separating, probably divorcing." She said it flat. Matter of fact, turns out when you strip away the comfortable house and the free ride, there's not much left between us. He blames me for everything. For the kicking out, for the crime charges, for his probation. I blame him for pushing me to treat you like an ATM. You both share that blame equally. No. She twisted her teacup. I spent the last 4 weeks thinking about when it all went wrong. When I stopped seeing you as my mother-in-law and started seeing you as a resource, an inconvenience. I don't have a good answer. It was gradual, I said. Small choices that became patterns, patterns that became character. Marcus got a job. Warehouse work, overnight shift, $12 an hour. He hates it. Comes home tired, angry at the world. She smiled without humor. I told him that's what real work feels like. He didn't appreciate that. I sipped my tea. Waited. The paying back money payment started last week. We owe you $60,000 over 4 years. That's $1,250 a month. She pulled out a folded paper, a payment schedule. I did the math. Between my salary and Marcus's warehouse job after rent and utilities and food, we have maybe $150 left each month. We can't make the payments. That's not my problem. No. I'm not asking you to forgive the debt. She looked at my eyes. I'm telling you so you understand. We're going to break the deal agreement. Marcus will go back to court. He'll probably go to jail. The information settled between us. A statement of fact, not a plea for sympathy. Does he know you're telling me this? Yes. He doesn't know I'm here at all. He'd lose it if he found out. She unfolded the paper, showed me the numbers in her neat handwriting. I wanted you to know that I understand the results now. What we did, what it cost, what happens next. No more denying reality. I looked at her face. She looked older, harder, like life had finally caught up with her entitled assumptions and crushed them flat. "Why, tell me," I asked. "What do you want from this talk?" "Nothing. I want nothing. Her voice cracks slightly. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. Who you are, what we took from you. I found more articles online about your work, your career. You testified in front of state leaders twice. You wrote policy that's still in use today. You saved history, Mom. Real actual history. And we treated you like you were nobody. Yes, you did. She jumped but didn't look away. I also wanted to say sorry. Really say sorry. Not the manipulative kind where I'm trying to get something. Just I'm sorry for all of it. For the phone call at the hospital, for living off you. For Marcus's fake writing. For every moment we made you feel small and unimportant. You deserve so much better from me. The words hit harder than expected. I'd imagined this talk dozens of times. Practiced my cold answers. Prepared my emotional armor. But hearing genuine sorry, watching her sit there without defenses, offering nothing but acknowledgement of harm done, that was different. I don't forgive you, I said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I understand, but I appreciate you saying it, owning it. I finished my tea. What happens when Marcus breaks probation? His lawyer says probably a year in county jail for breaking rules plus whatever the judge decides about the original charges. Could be 3 years total. She wrapped her arms around herself. I'll divorce him while he's inside. Start over completely. I'm already looking for a second job. Weekends, maybe nights. Anything to get ahead of the debt. You could say you can't pay. Could. She shook her head. But that feels like running away again. Caused this debt. I'll pay it. We sat in quiet. Around us, Seattle moved. Cyclists passing on Pine Street. Students from the nearby coffee shop. Families pushing strollers. Life continuing its indifferent forward motion. I kept those letters, Lisa said suddenly. Ones you wrote when I was in college. I read them every night now, trying to remember who I was before I became this person. She's still in there, just buried under bad decisions. Is she? Lisa stood gathering her things. I'm not sure anymore, but I'm going to try to find out. For me, not for you. I don't expect anything from you, Mom. Not forgiveness, not help, not a relationship. I just wanted you to know that I finally see clearly what we did. That matters to me, even if it doesn't. To you. She walked away without looking back. I watched her disappear down Pine Street, shoulders squared, despite carrying the weight of total life collapse. Patricia texted that evening. Heard Lisa came by. How'd it go? She said sorry. Genuinely, I think. What did you say? That I don't forgive her yet. Do you think you will eventually? I stared at my phone. Considering trust broken doesn't simply rebuild because someone says sorry. Respect lost takes years to earn back. Love twisted into manipulation doesn't untangle with one coffee shop talk. But something had shifted. Some small space opened between complete rejection and grudging acknowledgement. Not forgiveness, not even close, but maybe the possibility of it someday if she kept walking the hard road she'd chosen. I don't know. I texted back. Ask me in a year. That night I sat in my sewing room, fully taken back now, tools organized, projects in progress, and worked on a piece of furniture I'd started before they moved in. Bookshelf, cherry wood, hand-cut joints. 4 years abandoned, now slowly taking shape again. The work felt good, honest, creating something with my hands. Building rather than destroying. Moving forward rather than dwelling on the past. My phone buzzed. Martha Lee. Helen, just an update. Marcus Parker missed his first paying back money payment. Probation officer filed a breaking rules report. Court date set for November 20th. Thought you should know. November 20th, 4 weeks away, the next domino falling. Exactly on schedule. I set down my chisel and looked at the unfinished bookshelf. Wondered if Lisa would really try to find herself. Or if she'd crumble under the pressure like she always had. Wondered if Marcus would survive jail or come out angrier and more entitled than before. Wondered if I cared about the answers to those questions. The house settled around me with its familiar creaks and sighs. My house, my space, my life, finally my own again after 4 years of occupation. The victory should have felt sweet. Instead, it just felt quiet. Quiet was good enough. November arrived with typical Seattle rain, the kind that settles in for days, turning the city gray and thinking. I didn't attend Marcus's probation-breaking rules hearing. Martha went as my representative and called me afterward with the verdict. 20 months in King County Jail, she said. Judge Martinez was not sympathetic. Said Parker had been given mercy once and wasted it. He starts serving in 3 weeks. And the paying back money. Still owed in full. The debt doesn't disappear because he's in jail. Lisa's on the hook for it too. They were both listed as responsible. Papers rustled on her end. Helen, this is done. You won completely and totally. But winning felt less satisfying than I'd imagined back in that hospital bed. More complicated. Lisa's genuine sorry had muddied the clean lines of my revenge. Marcus going to jail felt necessary, but not triumphant. Thanks, Martha. Send me your final bill. Already in your email. It's been a pleasure working with you. Pause. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. Not the easy thing, but the right thing. After we hung up, I sat in my living room, my actual living room, not theirs anymore, and looked at the space. I'd replaced their debt-borrowed furniture with pieces from my own storage. My old fabric sofa, worn but comfortable. The cherry wood coffee table I'd built in 2000. Everything familiar, everything mine. The house felt like home again. Finally, 3 days later, Lisa knocked on my door. She stood on the porch, soaked from the rain, no umbrella, looking like she'd walked the entire way from their studio in South Seattle. Behind her, to my surprise, stood Marcus. He looked smaller, thinner, gray-faced, wearing a cheap raincoat that did nothing to keep him dry. Can we come in? Lisa asked. Please, just for a few minutes. Thought about saying no. Would have been within my rights. But curiosity won. Again, just like at the coffee shop. They sat on my old sofa, dripping on the hardwood floors I'd refinished myself. Neither spoke right away. Marcus stared at his hands. Lisa twisted a soggy tissue. Marcus has something to say, Lisa finally said. We both do. That's why we're here. Marcus looked up. His eyes were different, haunted, defeated. I'm going to jail in 18 days, 20 months. Before I go, I needed to. He stopped, swallowed hard. I needed to. Say sorry. Really say sorry. Not the tactical kind where I'm trying to get something. Go on. I manipulated Lisa, pushed her to see you as a resource instead of her mother-in-law. I was drowning in debt from my failed businesses. And instead of admitting I'd screwed up, I looked for someone to save me. His voice cracked. You were convenient, successful, alone. I saw an opportunity and I took it. You saw a mark. Corrected. He didn't jump. I saw a mark. I convinced Lisa you needed us when really we needed you. I pushed for the refinancing scheme. I faked your signature. Lisa didn't know until afterward, but she didn't report it either. We're both guilty. Different amounts, but both guilty. Lisa spoke quietly. I made the phone call. That's on me. When you were in the hospital dying, for all I knew, I was worried about my birthday party. Tears ran down her face, mixing with rainwater. What kind of person does that? What kind of daughter-in-law? The kind who lost their way. I said, not kindly, but factually. I found out about the fake writing the day after you came home from the hospital, she continued. Marcus told me what he'd done. Said it was too late to back out. I could have called the police then, reported it, protected you. Instead, I chose him over you. She looked at me directly. That was my decision, my betrayal. Own it. The room settled into heavy quiet. Rain drummed against the windows. Somewhere down the street, a car passed, headlights sweeping across the walls. Why now? Yes. Why come here and tell me this? Because you deserve to hear it, Marcus said. Because I'm going to jail and might not get another chance. Because Lisa's filing for divorce and starting over. And she needs to face you before she can move forward. He stood slowly. I don't expect forgiveness. Don't deserve it. But you deserve the truth spoken clearly without excuses. Anything else? Just he stopped. Thank you for not pressing for the maximum sentence. For giving me probation first. I wasted that chance. But you gave it. That's more than I deserved. He walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the knob. For what it's worth, the newspaper articles Lisa found about your career, I read them all. You really were someone important, someone who mattered, and I treated you like garbage. That's going to haunt me in that cell. After he left, Lisa remained on the sofa. We sat in quiet for several minutes. I meant what I said at the coffee shop, she finally said. I don't expect anything from you. Not forgiveness, not a relationship, nothing. I just wanted you to hear it from both of us. The full acknowledgement of what we did. What happens after Marcus goes to jail? I keep working, keep trying to pay down the paying back money. I'm waitressing 4 nights a week now on top of my PR job, sleeping 4 hours a night, sending every extra dollar toward what we owe you. She pulled out a crumpled envelope. This is the first payment. $250. It's not much, but it's honest. I earned. I'm giving it. No strings attached. I took the envelope. The bills inside were worn. Clearly hard-earned. Keep it. What? Keep it. Pay your own rent. Feed yourself. I set the envelope on the coffee table between us. Here's what's going to happen, Lisa. You're going to pay the court-ordered paying back money over the next 4 years. Not to me, to the system. That's justice, and it's non-negotiable. But I'm not going to grind you into dust over it. Mom, I'm not done. I leaned forward. You're going to rebuild your life. Really. Rebuild it, not fake it with store cards and borrowed money. You're going to figure out who you are without Marcus, without my money, without anyone's safety net. You're going to become someone your 20-year-old self would recognize. And then maybe we try being mother-in-law and daughter-in-law again. Not now, not next month, maybe not next year, but eventually if you prove you've actually changed. I pulled out a business card, my own, from my consulting days. This is my email once a month. If you want, you can send me an update. How you're doing, what you're learning, who you're becoming. I'll read them. I might not respond, but I'll read them. She stared at the card like it was a lifeline. That's more than I deserve, probably. But I spent 40 years believing in second chances, in redemption, in people's capacity to change. I'm not going to stop now. I stood, moved toward the door. But understand, this isn't forgiveness. Not yet. This is a chance to earn it. You waste it, there won't be another. Lisa stood, tucked the card carefully into her pocket. I won't waste it. We'll see. At the door, she turned back. The bookshelf in your sewing room. The cherry wood one with the hand-cut joints. That's beautiful work. You saw it when we were packing. I noticed it then. Realized you'd stopped working on it after we moved in. She managed a small sad smile. I hope you finish it. You deserve to finish things you started. After she left, I stood on the porch watching the rain. Nancy Miller waved from her window across the street. Patricia's light was on next door. Probably reading case law or grading papers. The neighborhood continuing its quiet existence, anchored by people who'd been here many years, who knew each other's histories and flaws and still chose to stay. My phone buzzed. Text from Lisa. Thank you for the chance. I'll try to deserve it. I didn't respond. Not yet. Let her sit with uncertainty for a while. Let her work for it. Inside, I returned to my sewing room. The bookshelf waited, nearly complete now. Just the final sanding and finishing left. I ran my hand along the hand-cut joints, feeling where my chisel had cut clean lines 4 years ago. Time to finish what I started. The wood grain caught the light as I worked, showing patterns laid down over many years of growth. Cherrywood was like that, strong, lasting, showing its age. Honestly, you couldn't hide Cherrywood's history. Couldn't pretend the hard years hadn't happened. But those hard years made it stronger. More beautiful, more worth keeping. I thought about Lisa's monthly emails. Wondered if I'd read them with softness or doubt. Wondered if she'd actually follow through or fade away like her past promises. Wondered if 20 months from now, when Marcus got out, they'd both be different people or just older versions of the same. Didn't know. Couldn't know. That was the thing about second chances. They required faith in an uncertain outcome. But I'd built a career on faith. Faith that historic. Libraries could be saved. Faith that neighborhoods could be kept. Faith that people, given the right encouragement and results, could choose better paths. Sometimes that faith was rewarded. Sometimes it wasn't. Either way, I'd done what I set out to do. Protected what was mine, enforced results, stood my ground. The house was mine again. My life was mine again. The people who'd taken advantage had learned painfully expensively that actions have weight. Justice wasn't always satisfying, but it was fair, and fair was enough. I applied the first coat of finish to the bookshelf, watching the oil soak into the wood, bringing out the grain's full beauty. Outside, the November rain continued. Inside, my house settled around me with its familiar sounds. Boom. Finally, completely home. The phone buzzed again. Patricia, dinner tomorrow. I'll bring the steaks. On. Type back. And bring your good whiskey. Life moving forward. Not perfect, not healed, but moving. That was enough. That was everything. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to Granny's Voice, and share your thoughts about this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.